Alright, today's the day they're releasing that update about what's going on June 9th, so let's take a look at that, why don't we?
Live service is ending. This is the last update of the game ever.
I think it's safe to say that this past week has been surreal. Obviously, Destiny wouldn't last forever, no game does, but actually seeing it happen, especially so abruptly, it feels like a dream almost. Like it just doesn't feel real in a lot of ways. And it especially, when I first heard the news, I was initially like, oh, so they gotta be working on a Destiny 3, right? That's the only reason they do this out of nowhere like this, is that they decided to can the expansions in favor of just making Destiny 3. But as it turns out, Jason Schreier posted that there are currently no plans for a Destiny 3 at all, and they are just trying to desperately pitch Destiny 3 and other projects to Sony, and Destiny 3 in particular keeps being rejected because it allegedly wouldn't do good in the current market. I'm not going to talk about the corporate type people right now because I'm sure plenty of other people have done that already. I want to talk about the state of the narrative. As I'm sure most of you saw, they apparently got most of Shattered Cycle finished. Like, it was probably like a couple months out at most. So in that case, it's highly illogical that they wouldn't just release it and make the money back that they, I'm sure, spent on making it. But it wouldn't be the first time a company has done something like that. So I'm sure they'll just use it as a fucking tax write-off or some stupid shit. But obviously, they were setting up a lot of threads, and a good chunk of those are most likely not gonna see completion. In that post, they said that they're going to include some narrative stuff in the update, and they're going to leave characters in interesting places. Now that sounds like it would be sequel bait, but we're apparently not getting Destiny 3 at the moment, so who knows what that means as of right now. What I'm thinking about is, if this is the last update, and there is some chance we might just never, just in preparation for the possibility that we never get anything Destiny ever again, how are we going to end it? Today they uploaded that blog, which included information about like the destination distortions and stuff, which I assume is 9 related. But I mean, they haven't said, so you don't know, but it looks like Eclipse Energy, and that's obviously where the story's been going. But there is other things in the narrative that have not been resolved, of course. The Lord of Every Nothing has been on the back burner since Heresy, which I'm sure they were going to do more with that character and develop it into an actual character, and they obviously have not had the time to do that anymore. Although I'm sure we'll get some lore. We're apparently supposed to get a bunch of lore books and stuff, which is nice. But that brings me, of course, to the last thing. If you've talked to me before about Destiny, if you've seen my other videos, you're immediately gonna know where I'm going with this. Of course, that being the Gardener and the Winnower. I'm going into this with the expectations that at the very most, we're probably just going to get a lore book or a lore tab about the Winnower, not even the Gardener. The Gardener is kind of mostly ignored as a character, unfortunately. And I think for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, this kind of highlights the sort of tragedy of this situation, really. That Destiny is ending just so abruptly that there are going to be things that we inevitably are not going to get any closure on, and they're going to be left in the open. And all of this is just making me wonder, in the event that this is going to be the end of Destiny as a whole, how are they going to end it with such little time? Because this isn't something they've been preparing for, as I'm sure you've seen. Most of the dev team didn't know about this until we did, until they uploaded that article. I think the thing that most people are going to think of off the bat is the death of the Guardian, the whole thing with the grave and stuff. But because the game is technically going to continue beyond this, I'm not entirely expecting it. I've definitely had that on the back of my mind a little bit of, oh, if this is it, what if they actually kill the Guardian as a character off? In my opinion, especially after we've already dealt with the Witness and stuff, if we get killed off and the Winnower isn't somehow involved, I am not going to be satisfied with that at all. Like, it has to be something of that level for it to actually feel earned, I suppose. And I know there's a lot of people like, oh, the Winnower is neutral or whatever, but if you want my personal opinion on that, I mean, I already made a video about this topic, and while I do think it's true to a certain extent that the Winnower has ulterior motives and isn't truly a neutral entity, as a lot of people like to say, I mean, the bluntest way to put it is not doing anything. If they're gonna making him not do anything by saying, oh, he's actually neutral, that just feels like a cop-out. That feels like an excuse to not have to get a person in to record lines for the character or to animate whatever it may look like. In Shadowkeep, where it wasn't technically he was introduced in the Books of Sorrow, but in Shadowkeep, in Unveiling, when the Winnower first got the name the Winnower and we learned more about the actual entity, they made it very clear within that lore tab. I guess by they I mean Seth Dickinson, because it was him who wrote that, but it was made clear in that lore tab that something was going to happen with the Winnower as a character. The messages from the Winnower to us end with it saying, don't hurry to deliver your answer, I'll come over and hear it myself. And that just screams confrontation. That doesn't scream neutrality to me. That screams, oh, I'm gonna pull up and we're gonna see if you're as tough as you think you are. That's the vibe that gives off. Obviously, there have been changes in the narrative since then, and even after. But still, if you want your lore to have more strength, you have to remain consistent. And this entire time, the whole Winnower is neutral thing has kind of felt like to retroactively explain why it has not made any sort of appearance in game. In an ideal world, how I would want Destiny as a franchise to end is not even with the Winnower. What I would personally want is a cutscene or something where the Guardian actually gets to meet directly and speak to the Gardener in some way, which is something that should have happened in Final Shape, but it didn't, because this is the first time I'm ever gonna say this in a video, I think. I've said it before on Discords and stuff, but I know that it's very well liked, but I personally was not satisfied with Final Shape's narrative. I know that a lot of people love it. I know that it's very positively received, but in my opinion, it was the safest finale they possibly could have done. It feels like a finale where nothing really happens at the end of the day. We go in, we kill the Witness. Other than the Echoes, which 2 of the 3 stories we got tied to the Echoes have been kinda doo-doo feces, there has been no other impact on the universe as a whole. But yeah, point being, and I think this is truly the ending that would make me... I have not cried yet at all during this news. When I saw the Jason Schreier post that said that Destiny 3 wasn't in development, I did feel sick to my stomach. But at no point have I actually cried at all, like some people have. I think that if we got some sort of meeting with the gardener, I guess even the winnower, because there'd still even be closure there, but mostly the gardener, I think that might be the closest we get to me actually crying from all of this, because that would really set in the finality of the situation. And then, of course, there's my actual expectations. As of right now, unless I see something more that suggests more, which there very well could be, they haven't revealed nearly everything yet of what's to come in this update. But as of right now, in terms of story stuff other than the lore tabs, I'm expecting stuff that's kind of on the same level of like the seasonal interactions we'd get, where we would like walk into a room and we would just see two characters talking and then they'd walk away and like teleport out of the room awkwardly. That's kind of in the realm of what I'm expecting out of this. I'd love to have, apparently we're getting at least one cutscene, which is nice. But other than whatever that may be, which like I said, I'm not expecting much. If I hype myself up and I say, oh, it's gonna be the gardener, it's gonna be the winnower, I already know that I'm just gonna come out disappointed. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let them do their thing, do what they can, and hopefully make this the best they possibly can out of a cruddy situation. Because, a lot of this is really, like I said, I haven't cried yet, but I've definitely felt like somber and sad. I think surreal really is the best way I can describe it. It just doesn't feel real. I personally first started playing Destiny around the Taken King. I think I got the game in February, but it's been so long that I cannot remember for certain. But I want to say 12 years old. I was about 12 years old. I am now 22. So I have, in the most literal sense, been playing Destiny for half of my life. And it's so weird seeing that, as far as we know, it's going away. It's so strange. It's not even, like, it's sad, of course, but in my brain, I'm just thinking, oh, it feels strange. It doesn't feel real. It feels like a weird dream I'm having, almost. And my experience was kind of weird. I liked it, but I wasn't super hooked until I actually played Taken King, which I was not able to get around to doing until a little bit after the April update came out, because when you're a kid, of course, it's harder. You can't just get things right away. And as a kid, I didn't really have an allowance. I would just ask for stuff, and on occasion, I'd maybe get it. That's kind of how it worked with me. It was very, very, very rare for me to get any video game related thing if it was over like $20. But after playing Taken King, I was pretty hooked, and I got invested in the lore and all of that, and that kind of led to where I am today. I was always very, very dorky, like throughout like late middle school and like pretty much all of high school. That's like one of the things that a lot of people knew about me, was like, oh, that guy is obsessed with Destiny or whatever. He's that weird dude who always talks about Destiny. That was me. That was definitely me. Destiny's always had a very special place in my heart. Even in times where I'm critical of the narrative or critical of the game. When that happens, it comes from a place of love, because I love Destiny. I love Destiny with all my heart. I wouldn't trade the time I've spent on this game for the world. I've come to meet many great people, and even when the community has its lows, which it certainly does, even right now a lot of people are kinda aiming their anger towards Marathon, which, while I don't think it was a wise decision to start a bunch of incubation projects, which included Marathon, during a time when Destiny was struggling so deeply, I think it's kinda short-sighted to just shit on the game because of that. Marathon for sure has its redeeming qualities. I can't particularly think of anything else I want to talk about. Sorry if this video came off as extremely rambly, especially for my standards. I didn't write a script for this, because if I did, it would take way too long to make. I decided to just wing it for this one and just speak my mind. So we'll see how that goes. But if you stuck through this, if you stuck through my yapping, you're a real trooper. And I appreciate you caring enough to listen to what some random dude on the internet has to say. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously things seem bleak right now, but I don't know what it is, but I have, especially with like the petition and all of the things that people are saying, I have a strong gut feeling that maybe, just maybe, we'll get through this. I don't think that with the outcry of these recent events, I can't help but think it's not a matter of if we get a Destiny 3. I think it's a matter of when. I think that they're going to see how much we want this and we're going to pull through. I really do. But who knows? Who knows? You never ever know, I suppose. And I personally have a bad track record when it comes to predicting things, so do not bet on that for me. I don't know. But yeah, that's it. I love all you guys. Christ is King. Have a good day.